Sports Network. We have the Cedric Thomas program. I am live in New Orleans, where in an hour and a half from right now, Braves basketball will get set to tip off against Tulane. And speaking of Tulane, fond memories of Alcorn and Tulane football. You see Cedric Thomas right there. Cedric Thomas had a hand in that defense early on when we played Tulane. And he's got a little story to tell talking about that, something I didn't know. Maybe a lot of folks didn't know in terms of the number of scouts that were here for that game. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the big win over Texas Southern. Braves with some points, defense flying around. Man, they were hitting out there on Saturday. We'll be taking your questions, your comments, your texts, your tweets, all that. We get ready for Prairie View. We'll pull off a huge upset at home as they beat Florida A&M and pretty much eliminating Florida A&M from the Eastern Division contention. We'll take a break here in 30 seconds. The Cedric Thomas Show. Come on back.
Hello, I'm Fantasia. When the United Negro College Fund was founded 80 years ago, they hoped to...
in sports: Alabama A&M, Alabama State, Alcorn State, Bethune-Cookman, Florida A&M, Grambling State, Jackson State, Mississippi Valley State, Prairie View A&M, Southern, Texas Southern, and the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff have united to embark on a new era of greatness. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, building champions for life.
Live from New Orleans. Glad you can join us here for the Cedric Thomas Show. I'm in New Orleans on location for Braves basketball. Cedric Thomas, as you see, is in his office chilling, just kicking back. But he's going to be getting to work here in the next 24 hours, getting ready for a Panther team that's all of a sudden come alive as they pretty much eliminated Florida A&M from the Eastern Division race. Glad you can join us. Braves with a big win over Texas Southern, and we'll be talking all about it coming up on the Cedric Thomas Show. The Braves, another 79-play effort, dominated the total yards running game. Xavier Vaughn, HBCU National Player of the Week. We'll talk all about that with head coach Cedric Thomas. You can text a question, 601-301-2611, 601-877-6595. I'm on X Tallman Radio. We'll take a time out here, an early edition of the Cedric Thomas Show. We'll be back in studio next Monday night at 6 o'clock. I'm here in New Orleans for Braves basketball. It's been a busy 72 hours. Coming up, the Cedric Thomas program after this 1-minute timeout here on the Braves Sports Network.
Here at Alcorn, we understand that we share some commonalities with one another. So in some ways, we're already family.
Seeing everybody, seeing more people that looked like me and had the same mannerisms as me, it was fantastic.
The variety of people here really made me feel at home.
When I stepped on campus, it felt like I was supposed to be here.
When they say the grass is greener here, they really mean it.
And deserves their play. We want to thank
And we welcome you back to the Cedric Thomas program. Glad you can join us here on the Braves Sports Network, 91.7 WPRL, WPRL.org, WMIS WTYJ 97.7, 1240 AM, Fayette Natchez, 90.1 WMPR in Jackson. And we are on YouTube, Braves Sports Network. It's been a busy 48 to 72 hours. Football on Saturday. Lady Braves basketball was up in Stark Vegas on yesterday as the Lady Braves had an injury to talk about, and we'll be dealing with that over the next few days. And then here, the men will be taking on Tulane. Glad you can join us here on this Monday night. An early edition, Braves basketball at 6:15. As soon as this one's over, I'll be heading right across the way to get ready for the pregame, 6:15. Pregame tip-off at 6:30. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Braves head football coach Cedric Thomas coming off a big win over Texas Southern. Coach Thomas, how you doing, sir?
I want to bless Mr. Charles. How about yourself?
Oh, man, it's always good when you win a football game, especially at home, getting back to the friendly confines of Jack Spink's Marino Casem Stadium. You know, I'm here in New Orleans. We got basketball coming up, and just before we went on the air, we were talking about the football game. We played Tulane here. I remember the early turnover that we got, couldn't cash in on it offensively. But you were telling me that was kind of the breakout game for Claude Cherloose, and not only that for him on the field, but a bunch of NFL scouts. And I didn't realize so many that were in attendance in that game.
Yeah, it was over 20. They had Micah Pratt. He's actually on the NFL roster, and then they had the linebacker from Vicksburg. That's I think in the CFL now. And so Claude turned a lot of eyes. He had 2 sacks that game, a couple tackles for losses, and he left in the third quarter with a concussion. And so that what kind of jump started his senior campaign, and then he did such a great job in the combine. But that was his pro day in Jackson. But that was a really good game to kind of get him jump started, so get on the scouts' radar.
Yeah, and all it takes is one. And you've heard scouts say they want to see film against these bigger teams when you play up. That's what, and I've heard scouts say that. I want to see what you're going to do against a Tulane or a USM or an Ole Miss, whatever the case. And Cherloose definitely had a solid effort there. Speaking of solid effort, Coach Thomas, was this the 4-quarter game that you've been looking for? I know you'll take the win. Congratulations on that. And you were looking for the 4-quarter effort. How close was that? How would you grade it?
Probably C++. The first half, Mr. Charles, we can't turn the football over. Right before half, we got to give Keanu opportunity to kick. Whether he missed it or not, but we got to maintain that possession. I called timeout. We got 30 seconds left. It's second down. Worst come to worst, we get the playoff and we spike it, and we get a chance to get a kick. And then it's 2 weeks in a row we've given the other team points. We're not good enough to consistently just give points away. And so we still looking for that 4-quarter game. And I'd be lying to you if I told you I felt like we did on Saturday, because we didn't. I thought they did a really good job of showing resolve and kind of getting their bearings about them that second half and finishing things off. But we still even in the morning it'll be the same thing. 4 quarters. We got to do small things. We got to take advantage of all the opportunities we got, but we can't turn the ball over and give other team points.
Well, you are one of the toughest teachers around. I mean, what is it going to take to get a B or an A? Is it even possible to get that, Professor Cedric Thomas?
Yeah, you can't turn it over. We got to keep the football. Big Truck, our All-American, we try to find ways, to get him the football. And when we give it to him, he got to set the example for the young guys. I got to TCP that football. I got to maintain it, and I got to make sure I definitely can't give it to the other team for a touchdown. And so, we got to do that. And then, Vaughn, he's an older guy. We expect him this, 2 games, the Gremlin game, we do the same thing right before the half and don't get points out of it. And so, I'm not grading on the curve. I know this team can do it. We got 2 weeks, to be able to, and it starts with this week. And so I want to see them do that. And whether the outcome, win, lose, or draw, I just know if we do that, we give ourselves opportunity to really be successful.
Well, let's talk about it, Coach. Let's dive right into it. Alcorn and Texas Southern, a big game. Glad to be back home. Our first home game since October the 5th. So, Coach, the coin toss is always kind of a chess match with the coin toss. When your defense is good, you want to take the football second, but you won the toss and took the football to start. So you're on offense to start. What's the strategy behind that?
Just looking at the weather, we thought we was going to get more of a downpour that second half. So we wanted to kind of get the ball and try to get some points early so they could deal with the elements the second half. But, Father Time and, the man upstairs, he saw it another way. But that was the reason behind getting the football. And I thought we did a good job of, moving the football besides the turnover.
Well, the weather forecast was not very promising. All I saw was rain and lightning starting at 2 o'clock all the way through. And of course you can play through rain, but lightning's another story. And we've been through so many of those lightning games, 30-minute delay. So the weather guys were good at the end. It started to come down, but the game was pretty much over with. So the weather gods smiled kindly on Alcorn State University. So let's talk about it, Coach. We get the football. We move the football. We get it to Chuck Griffin out in space. We see the replay. He's trying to go out of bounds and then cut back in. And then the turnover happened. And then the strip six. And for those watching, as you can see right there, it's one of those situations. Just talk about that play, Coach, in which Chuck I thought he was going to go out of bounds, trying to get some extra yards, and had it stripped and a strip six.
Yeah, he just got to get out of bounds. We know he's a tough player, and he can't let the personal things invade his level of play. We got to take what we can get out of bounds, and we can maintain the possession. and give our offense and our team opportunities to play right here. That's a good job on the under, but now we just got to get out of bounds. It's not worth it now. He changed the ball over to the opposite arm, and then we, just so unfortunate to get it 6 points up. And so what I can say about the guys when they got over to the sideline, Malachi was the first one to put his arm around him. Truck understood, where he screwed it up, and those guys, really just kept their head down and said everything was going to be okay, and to try to to right their wrongs.
I mean, oh yeah, I mean that angle right there. I mean, he was carrying it pretty loosely, and then boom. I mean, and you see that happen. So it was a strip 6 touchdown, 7-0 Texas Southern. But then on the Braves' second drive, coach, on a 2nd down and 5, Xavier Vaughn, kind of that pop fly ball deep center field. Tyron Warren ran under it for 60 yards as we tie the game up. Talk about that.
Wanted to get him some shots early. The kid was, like I said last week, he was crying behind the Alabama State game because he knew he missed a touchdown, actually 2 touchdowns. And coach wanted to just, we know he's a freshman. Tyron only had 1 touchdown. But, we didn't want his confidence to waver. We didn't want him to know that we still believe in him. And inside, coach 10-play script, he had this play designed for him, and we got the look, and Vaughn put it on him. But it was just good to see him, look that ball in, win the one-on-one, and get in the end zone.
The one thing about Xavier Vaughn and these deep balls, I mean, it's the second one that Warren has run under. Against Grambling, it was that way as well. You put some air under it. Warren's got the speed, the height to be able to make those big plays.
Yeah, he does. I mean, he's a fast kid, got a lot of range. But, got off press really good. And so, that's right there is really good for him from a confidence standpoint, for him to have that opportunity to make that play early.
At the end of the first quarter, coach, it was 7-7, kind of field position in the first quarter. I mean, we're pinned back. Texas Southern's pinned back. I thought the punters did a real nice job, coach, in terms of pinning teams deep, and I thought that was a huge factor in the game as well. Field position, the way that Texas Southern was playing D and the way we were hitting, I thought it could be a field position type of game.
Yeah, you dead on. And, like I said, Coach Welch has got them guys playing at a high level just on the special team. Dylan Crowell and those guys, man, they doing a really good job taking the coaching, and Frank doing a good job of turning that ball over. I think he's averaging right at about 35, 36 yards. And the placement is good. And so if we can make guys drive that football on us and play that field position game, the advantage of us winning just goes that much higher.
So a 7-7 going into the second quarter. As we fast forward to 12:51 left till halftime. We're at our own 27, faced with a 4th down and 4. Texas Southern is offsides. So that gives a new set of downs. And we're able to cash in on that. Coach Thomas, is Xavier Vaughn's 4-yard run capped off a 73-yard drive.
You can see those drives starting to get longer, with the plays, and the guys are executing at a high level, doing what they coached to do. And I'm just so proud of those guys that just have that wherewithal to be able to maintain that focus level, to be able to get that ball in versus a really good defense. Those guys hadn't given up a lot of points, all year. But we're being patient. Coach Gales is really just kind of honed in on the niche of what guys can do, and just, getting that ball, from a spacing standpoint, but also still staying true to the running game.
Amarian Blake's, boy, he's making some nice catches and doing a good job with special teams as well, running guys deep and a lot of underneath stuff, Coach. When teams run you deep, that shallow crosser underneath, whether it's Truck Griffin, whether it's Amarian Blake's, that stuff works the majority of the time because everyone's running deep. And then for those watching, you can see Xavier Vaughn just calling his own number there. And then again, you got Truck Griffin, man, just continues to do a nice job. And so it was a good drive, Coach, and running the football, the ground and pound. We were talking about it during the broadcast, which is on the SWAC Digital Network, and you see a heck of a run right there as Truck just slipped out of a tackle. I thought the Braves running game, we talked about it during the broadcast, just kind of wore down Texas Southern.
Yeah, just a lot of those bodies, in different ball carriers, maintaining it. And then, like you said, when those drives get longer, we are not allowing them to sub, we're playing fast. That just, it puts a strain on you. We've been on the other end of some of those drives from other teams, and we just know, hey, we want to reciprocate that to other teams that play us.
So it was 14-7 at that point, Coach. After trailing 7-0, we're up 14-7. The next Texas Southern drive started at midfield with 5:10 left in the second quarter. They marched the football down the field and had a 4th down and 1 from our 23-yard line. They went for it. Wilson for 14 yards, and then Wilson, boy, he's a pretty nifty runner, a 6-yard touchdown run. Thought we had him in the backfield as we look at some of the defensive plays, but when Texas Southern, Wilson, he was, what's the deal with him in terms of trying to bring him down? He's kind of a slippery customer back there in the pocket.
Yeah, and he's so small, you lose sight of him, and Lego Steve, our leading tackle and our leader, he misses him. He can't get him down. He's got deceptive speed. Here you go again on the 4th down. We wrap him up. We hit him, but don't wrap him up, and he spins off of it. He's just a physical, compact player, but he's just so slippery and wiry to get down, and here's a touchdown. Steve got caught up with a drag route. It was actually a pass concept, and he just saw the B gap open and ran through it. And so, man, when I saw it, I said, here we go again. Man, let's just stop this little dude. And we finally just kind of settled down. Coach Rowe did a really good job of starting to cage him in. And that was about the end of his night for his highlights.
Well, it's 14-14. The next ASU drive, Coach started at our own 28-yard line. Damian Jones, Marion Blakes got involved. Then there was a face mask on Texas Southern that advanced the football, and we got to Texas Southern's 24-yard line. And you had an opportunity there, Coach, to put some points on the board late on a 2nd and 4 from Texas Southern's 24. Xavier Vaughn with the fumble. So unfortunate, Coach Thomas. And I know you were talking with Cedric Tillman at halftime. Those are points that we lost as we're looking at it. Xavier Vaughn going out of bounds, but on that drive. But just talk about that particular play in which put the ball on the ground.
Yeah, so we got 30 seconds left, and I know with no timeouts, but like I said, it's 2nd down. So even on this first play, whether we got a 1st down or not, we knew we had time enough to get up and spike it. So, my last thing to him after the timeout was, maintain the possession. We don't need the extra yardage. We in field goal range. We got a good kicker. And he go out and do the opposite. I said, man, you're going to make me start telling you just the opposite, because you seem like, when I tell you to do something, I ask you to do it, you don't do it. And so it was a good play by the defender to be able to chop it down from backside, but he got to maintain that, and that's why I feel like the letter grade that we got was deserving because of plays like this. We got to give ourselves the opportunity to get points. Whether we miss the kick or not, we at least get an opportunity to do it. And so we didn't do it. And, I was really, I was really disappointed, and I was mad going into the halftime. And I had a few choice words for him. That's the play right there, because, we gave him strict orders to, maintain that possession. We need that ball. We got a close game. We at home. Don't know what the elements going to look like coming out the second half. And, defense been playing lights out. And so, he understood it. Coach Gill set him down, and he came out the second half, and we played, really good football. I don't think we had a turnover. At the end, with the meaningful minutes with those guys that came out to finish the game.
Yeah, I mean, just to speak to your team, Coach, 14 all. I mean, you just look at the stats. If you just look at the stat sheet, I mean, we just dominated in terms of yards, plays, all of that stuff, and we're just kind of in our own way at times. And I know that's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, and it reminds you of the first thing I was thinking about was last week. When we led in all the statistical categories, but the main thing was the win that we didn't get. And so I'm just telling them, hey, look, we just got to maintain the possession. Guys, this ain't hard. We got to maintain the possession. Offense, you hold it. Defense will continue to get stops. Special team, you create field position opportunities for the offense. And, they was up for it. When I looked in their eyes at halftime, I knew those guys was, they was locked in, and they just, like we talked about, some teams we feel like we shouldn't beat. I mean, we should beat. In this league.
It's where creativity meets courage.
We felt like we should have been up a lot more and playing better, in this game.
So 14 all at that point, Coach, and just coming out in the third quarter, of course, Texas Southern got the football. Wilson sacked. Malachi Bailey had a heck of a game, Coach, and I thought this Braves defense was hitting. I mean, it was some hard hits, and I thought it was beeline to the quarterback all game long. I mean, that pocket wasn't comfortable, And I thought we did a real nice job in making it a little uncomfortable for Wilson because we really brought our lunch pail in terms of getting after people.
Yeah, Coach Rowe did a really good job, him and his staff, are having a good game plan. Like I said, the adjustment was the cage of men. You hit it right on the head and not let him get those running alleys to be able to escape. And Malachi set the tone by coming out early, having some tremendous stops and also putting pressure on the quarterback. And I thought that just took the pressure off the secondary. And those guys was able to play loose and keep things in front of them and dominate the football game.
Well, when you look at it, Coach, we got the lead as Jacorian Sewell's 5-yard run in the third quarter with 8:06 left, a 70-yard drive, Coach, to give us the lead. Anthony Williams and Xavier Vaughn with a big 31-yard run, Coach, to kind of set this drive up to give us the lead again.
Yeah, we know what he can do with his legs. He's dynamic, when he get in space. And so it was some opportunities from the pass game that opened up some of those lanes. He threw the ball, efficiently, and that opened up some running lanes for him. So when he's dishing the ball out and getting it out on time to guys, then they can't sit in there and try to spy him. And, now it just creates, those type of holes. But, man, we can't say enough about this whole line. Those guys, and Steve Carter has really put them on the back, so far, with Coach Watson just being on the sideline with the guys was a breath of fresh air for him. And I thought, man, they played tremendous, that whole game. And so just kudos to them and so just proud of them and them guys and how they battled up front.
Well, it's 21-14 at that point. And then you added another touchdown to it as you got the football with 8 minutes left in the third quarter. You got it at Texas Southern's 24-yard line. Xavier Vaughn's 39-yard run for a touchdown gave this Braves team a 28-14 lead, Coach. So another long drive, a 76-yard drive with Vaughn, and there he goes. I mean, that RPO, Coach, when you see it, whether it's at the NFL level or whatever level, I mean, it is such a beautiful thing to watch when everyone dives in on the back, quarterback keeps it, and there's no one on that other side. I mean, it's nothing like it. And as play-by-play guys, I lose sight of it because I'm following the running back, and it shows you what I know. But the quarterback definitely has the advantage there. And how would you assess Xavier Vaughn's ability to read that stuff, so far, when it's not there, when it's there, that RPO?
Yeah, it's big. It's big. It's just a new age football, Mr. Charles. You're talking about you getting a run game action with pass principles to it, and a lot of times defensively, no matter what you do, you're wrong. You take the running back and the quarterback gets the football. You run and take the quarterback. He throws it to a wide out. So you got to really be disciplined. But it takes time, to be able to go over that. Not just with him. You see us when you come out there. He's throwing out the practice. With Gales and the guys and the coaches, watching them and running those plays and spending time with those guys so everybody can be on the same page. And that's some of the advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantages when everybody not on the same page, it forces you to do one thing. And, the advantages is when you're doing it right, you're pretty much wrong, whatever you do. And so that's the stuff that keeps us up at night. But he's doing a really good job reading it right now at a high level.
So it was 28-14 going into the fourth quarter. So we were kind of smelling it a little bit, kind of feeling it. I felt like another score, and we would be in really good shape. And we got that other score. Marion Blake's 8 yards out. Talk a little bit about that early in the fourth quarter on a second down and goal.
Delta guys, man, they did to me. And just his maturation through the year started out rough. Really a redshirt freshman, didn't play for us last year. We talked about him against McNeese, fumbling the ball on the catch and, just been growing, getting better, just keeping his head down. And he one of the few guys that's actually playing, like you said earlier, on the special team aspect also. He's on kickoff, which is almost like our Green Beret type team. And he's, doing the punt return. But just see him get his first college football touchdown was amazing with his mom and dad in the stands.
So that made the score 35-14 early in the fourth quarter, and then you were able to put another score on the board. Xavier Vaughn went down, Coach. Trey Lawrence came in. Talk a little bit about that sequence there and how is Xavier Vaughn doing after all of that in the last few days?
He iced it down, got him some treatment. We got a really good training staff. Rod has done an amazing job getting guys back on the field. You see him down there, and Had an ankle boot on, after the game. But then, once we left the actual facility, he was able to walk on his own pressure. At practice yesterday, he was up and walking. Just saw him in the quarterback meeting room walking on his own. And so he'll be ready to go. He's a tough player. That's a part of the culture. But we also, know what Trey brings. And one thing, it was good to hear Coach on the headset, when Trey got in, that, hey, the whole playbook is still open. He can do the exact same thing because Trey gives us that, as the next man up at the quarterback position.
I don't know how it is in our tent. I saw a special the other day what the NFL medical tent looks like. I mean, we don't see what's on the inside of it. And I saw a show the other day talking about what's on the inside of it. There's an iPad, and for the concussions, you got to go through the protocols, looking at the iPad and going through all that stuff. So, we've dealt with injuries all year. I mean, we don't talk about the medical staff enough, trying to get these guys back as quickly as possible. Have to take your time with it. Just talk about the job that Rod and just that training staff, the job that they've done to keep these players healthy.
Man, they do a really good job. I had the guys after practice, to just tell them thank you, that, they mean a lot to us. They there with us. When we lose, they hurt. We don't get a lot of laughing and playing when we lose with them because they're vested. They up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning when we out, practicing. And so we always want to keep them involved in what we got going on. But they do a tremendous job, of player safety, knowing that, it's about that first, but also understanding that they're not babying them. They get them healthy so they can get back and be able to play and do something they love to do. And so I think he does an excellent job, getting guys back ready to get back on the field and compete.
You talked about Trey Lawrence, Coach. When he's in the game, does anything change in terms of schemes, play calling? You've got obviously Xavier Vaughn, who could do it with his feet as well as his arm. But when Trey Lawrence, we know he can push the ball down the field. Does the play calling change a little bit? Maybe not as much RPO with him. Does the play calling change all that much when he's in the game?
Guys, the exact same playbook. That's the first thing Gil's told the guys on the headset when he got in. You see him against Valley. I think he had like a 25-yard run. He scrambles a little on Saturday. So now he still got the same RPO concepts. He still got the same whole playbook. It's just not he don't have that turnover, long speed, like Vaughn has, but he gets enough and he understands, his limitation and capabilities. So Trey done played a lot of football. And so you see him on the first play in, you don't find a lot of backup quarterbacks that come in and, complete a 3rd and 13 for a strike, for a big first down. And so that's the confidence that those guys have in Trey, not only his teammates, but the coaches also.
I thought that was the biggest play of the game right there, Coach. 28-14, 3rd and 13. I mean, the game's still up for grabs. In the third quarter,
yep.
Texas Southern gets a little momentum. They get off the field with another quarterback, and they can build some momentum. I thought that was the biggest play of the game right there on that 3rd and 13. Trey Lawrence coming in cold.
Yeah, I thought it was also, but I knew, he had a great week of practice. Alabama State was really his first game playing pretty much all year. And we threw him in the fire, and I expected him to, to protect the football still. But knowing this week that he was going to get an opportunity to get in, and so 3rd and 13, where everybody else probably would have handed it off, Coach showed the confidence that he had in Trey and the week of preparation he had, and the guys executed, and we was able to get a big first down.
And then we were able to get another touchdown, Coach, to go up 42-14. Just talk about that last score. As that 3rd and 13, we converted that, and we kind of put the game away after that. Talk about it.
That was the biggest one. 2 scores, today's football really ain't a whole bunch, Mr. Charles, depending on, how much time, on the clock. When you start to get to that 3rd one and, especially the 4th one, then it kind of can get out of hand. And so just to get this one, the first thing that I was excited about, I knew I was going to, dump the whole bench now. I was going to, everybody that I felt like that was in good standings, doing things right on and off the field, it was an opportunity to get them in the game. And so that's what we wanted to do. So that's why I was really excited about that last touchdown. The only thing that, I was disappointed about was I didn't get a chance to let T get his first collegiate touchdown, try to get him in. And, he just refused to. He wanted the young guys to kind of go out there and do it. And so, other than that, I thought we played a lot of guys, after that last touchdown. So that was the exciting part. And to get a chance to let them get some time, but also eval them. And see what, the future looked like just in the minute of snaps that they played at the end of the game.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of opportunities for T. Adams to get his first collegiate touchdown. So there's definitely some opportunities out there for him. How that's one of the big stories, one of the great stories. And we all know recruited as a quarterback, and he thought he would be playing that position, just kind of going back and forth, tussled back and forth, was ready to quit, ready to let it go, picked up, he picks himself up. I mean, that's just one story that it doesn't get a lot of discussion, but for someone to stay with it, because a lot of guys wouldn't have, for him to stay with it, being rewarded for that and being one of the better receivers and just handling it professionally, I thought he's done a real good job.
Love him to death, man. Love him to death. If I had a spot on the stat when he got done, I have him around in some capacity. Really good mind, really good brain. But he been through something. T wasn't always this maturity that we seeing now. He had some faults and some immaturities, but he's willing to stand in front of the team and me and everybody else and talk about his shortcomings. So he's kind of the mentor to them younger guys that's going through something. He come to work every day, work his tail off. Smart kid. Man, we love him to death. And so I owe it to him, this institution owe it to him to make sure that he can try to lead this place, man, with at least a collegiate touchdown under his belt. And so I'm just proud to have him around. And we're going to finish this thing off for him. He was a captain this week and had a really touching speech for the guys at pregame that I thought really got him amped up. And so I'm just excited, man, about his future. Now him leaving. But it's also the Alcorn way, Mr. Charles. There's a lot of people inside the Alcorn brand that put their arm around him also, that lift him up when he was going through those dark times, that didn't allow him just to take his ball and go home. It's a lot of people that love T that's associated with this great institution. And I thought that was the biggest part. When we talk about recruiting, and we're going to have some guys in, next weekend, that's what we're talking about. We're selling family. We're selling after the game. It's going to be some moms and dads that's going to be here that you may not have your mom and dad here in the physical, but they're going to be able to feed them and make sure that they got things, when it's going well or not going well. And so I think that's the holistic approach when you're talking about the Alcorn way. T just is one of those examples.
Braves win 42-21. Coach, I know, we had the game in hand, but you want to finish out strong, and Texas Southern with a touchdown late in the football game. What were your thoughts about that?
T. Haney got to make that play. He's the up and coming new, young guy for us at the corner position. We see him do one-on-ones against Truck and those guys. So we was disappointed. We kind of got in him pretty tough. Because he's that next corner up, when these three seniors leave. And so he got to sit down there and he got to, play his technique correct and be sound. But also, Caleb Anderson had Caleb, the defensive end, he had a bad read on the zone read that allowed him to get down. And so, we coached them guys hard and it was a really firm film session for all them young guys that had the opportunity to play, because it wasn't just recess ball going out there not playing our brand of ball. If we put you out there, we expect you to hold to the standard.
Well, the Braves get it done by the final score of 42-21. We'll take a timeout here. We'll look at the stats. We'll take questions. We've got some text questions that have come in. We'll get to all that. I am in New Orleans, where the Braves basketball team will take on Tulane in 1 hour from right now. 6:32 is the official tip. I'm here at Fogelman Arena here at Tulane. We'll take a timeout here. We'll recap the Texas Southern game, have stats, questions, comments, and we'll talk about PVU, who knocked FAMU out of contention for the East as we go to Panther Stadium. We'll take a timeout here. We'll be right back in 60 seconds on the Braves Sports Network.
The agriculture department is going to get you out there and help you be successful in your future endeavors.
Where the students have access to world-class facilities right here.
One thing I like about Alcorn is the small classrooms where you as a professor get the chance to interact or know all your students.
My professors are teaching me along the way. I will be prepared for the job.
Go the extra step. They go above and beyond what they don't have to do just to make sure that their students are successful.
College Fund was founded 80 years ago.
All right, we welcome you back to the Cedric Thomas program. I am live in New Orleans. Braves basketball coming up in 1 hour as Landon Bussey's team takes on the Tulane Green Wave. Charles Edmond, Cedric Tillman, our producer, Jamario Brooks, our producer, Cedric Thomas. Coach, 5 sacks. 5 sacks on Saturday. I thought that was huge in keeping Jace Wilson contained. I thought, again, we really did a nice job in collapsing that pocket. And I'm just impressed with how hard and how physical we were with that offensive line for Texas Southern.
You know, we expected no other way. You know, Coach Rowe has done an amazing job of just maintaining the culture, and everybody knows what to expect. You know, the theme all week was get off the mat. You know, we didn't practice that Tuesday due to the election, and we had to change some things around. But I think the biggest thing that really helped the guys, you know, kind of get up. Well, they knew about the weather, but when they seen them RVs over there on Thursday and Friday, I thought that was a really good boost to them, because a couple of the old guys asked me, you know, hey, Coach, man, you know, they here for the game. And I'm like, yeah, what you thought? You know, these people here to support you, man. You know, win, lose, or draw. And you got some people that's vested. And so I thought that was a little pep in their step, you know, but also they also did a really good job of preparing. And they just came out, you know, playing with a vengeance, and really had it on their mind to play a physical brand of football.
And we talked about it before we went on the air, and I wanted to follow up on it last week, but couldn't. It's several years on the books now, but the NCAA passed a mandate that there's no practice on election day. And so talk a little bit about that and how teams across the country had to deal with it, but how did Cedric Thomas and the Braves have to deal with it?
You know, we got away, allowed them to go, you know, and had that time whether it was, you know, it was designated to go vote, you know, and if they didn't, we couldn't go out and practice. So coaches had opportunity to vote and, you know, and adhere to that day in the policy. And so we just sat around. We got a chance as coaches to kind of get a head up or extra film session amongst ourselves and do some recruiting things. But it was just another time, you know, for the guys to get away. You know, and it hit us at a decent time. We're coming off the Alabama State loss and don't want to get too much time. I want to get their mind off of it to hit the ground. But I thought they did a really good job of. We had to push Tuesday back to Wednesday, and Wednesday with Thursday. But I thought once they saw them RVs rolling in, man, I thought that was a really good pickup, a really good boost to them. And what you saw on Saturday was just a product of them guys being mature and understanding the only thing that matter is now.
And I know the weather kind of maybe frightened some people because the forecast didn't look that promising. I think maybe Thursday it was 40%, and then Friday it was 70%. And so there was a front right along the Mississippi River, and the forecast was once the rain got here, it was going to stick around. And I saw the forecast from 2 o'clock to 9 o'clock rain. And I'm like, uh-oh, lightning. We're going to be here. We're going to be socked in. But the weather guys were good to us. Rain started coming down the last couple of minutes of the game, but we got the game in with no delay. Coach, let's look at some of the individual numbers. Xavier Vaughn, HBCU National Player of the Week for 171 yards passing, and then 131 yards rushing, 302 yards of total offense. Talk about that.
You know, it starts up front. You know, they don't get a whole lot of credit, but, you know, you got to give it to him. You know, he can't make those plays without that O-line doing a really good job for him, you know, and so that was amazing, you know, by those guys for opening those holes up and giving them time to throw in there. Xavier, we know he's an exceptional athlete. But still waiting on him to, you know, he's cutting the turnovers down from an interception standpoint. Now my goal for him this week is, you know, to play true turnover-free ball with no fumbles. And so I'm expecting him to, you know, to clean that up. But really good week, you know, very productive. And that just started with, you know, the O-line and then those wideouts catching those balls and doing everything for him so he can be successful.
298 yards rushing, Coach. You just have to be amazed and impressed with how each and every game we're able to run the football. I go back to a 4-game stretch this season. We had 1,000 yards rushing in 4 games. That's 250 a game. And we continue on that trend, 298 Saturday.
I'm trying to see how we keep getting stuck on 298. I'm trying to break the 300 mark. Somebody did it on us. But you know, them last couple plays, we had some negative plays that got us up under 300. But those guys, man, they just been consistent. You know, got to clean up some pass pro stuff, which I know, you know, Coach Watson and those guys will. But we can move people with the best of them. So we just got to continue to be consistent, continue to create a new line of scrimmage so we can get these running backs the ball and, you know, continue to score touchdowns.
You know, talk about the balance, Coach. I mean, I know every coach says they want to be balanced. You want to run, pass, you want to be balanced. But the way we're just running the football, I mean, it takes so much pressure off of whoever's back there quarterback, whether it's Trey Lawrence or whether it's Xavier Vaughn. When you can run the football, you can just see an exhale from the quarterback because it makes the job so much easier.
So much easier. And so, you see the deep threat, with the touchdown that loosen, like what you said earlier, it loosens up, for the underneath and the drags and the crosses. But, it's just a demoralizing feeling. Not only you getting tired chasing the up-tempo plays, but then to have, the run game that just kind of lay on you. I mean, we got a 9-lineman package that we call Buck, and that's like unheard of in today's football. And everybody on the sideline, they can't wait till we call it. So that's just an attitude and emphasis on, establishing a new line of scrimmage and being physical up front. And that starts in the weight room with Coach Gann and his crew, and then just reciprocated all the way down to Coach Watson and those offensive linemen that's in the game.
Tyron Warren with 2 receptions for 64 yards. Amarian Blake's 3 for 55. You talked about T. Adams, 2 for 29. Truck Griffin, 1 for 14. Damian Jones, 4 for 12. It looked like we're really trying to get Damian Jones going a little bit. You think teams have kind of they know who he is, they've identified him, and I think, do you think that they realize that he can be a game breaker?
Yeah, the coach from Alabama State, told me personally, they kind of had him circled, as the guy to stop from a pass standpoint. And so he's starting to get some coverage rotating to him. He was kind of had a little bug a little bit in last week game, but this week, guys just kind of keying out for him. And so you see Amarion, the coaches did a really good job at changing those guys out. And so that's when you see Amarion Blakes, come in with some of the big catches because, they can't find that, that guy that they're looking for in Damian.
Well, speaking of that, the guy's looking for no Tyler Macon, a very limited Tyler Macon. What's the situation there?
Growing, we try to give it to him early on the jet sweep. I think maybe in the second play of the game, but just didn't feel good. He said he tweaked it, and then that surface wasn't really conducive for him to, do a lot of planting and cutting. And so saw him yesterday, in the gym. He was moving around decent. So we'll try it again in the morning. Let him kind of be limited to get him through the week, and hopefully we can have him, if not full speed, a good enough speed to where he can be productive and not in harm's way on Saturday.
Well, Coach, talk about defensively, who stood out for you. I mean, you look at our numbers. Malachi Bailey was just awesome. 7 tackles. We have 5 sacks, 4 TFLs for Malachi Bailey, and he had 3 sacks. You were telling Cedric Tillman after the game, just kind of a different Malachi Bailey. I mean, in early part of the year, he was in tears and just, things just wasn't adding up. But it was adding up on Saturday. Just talk about his, development here down the stretch.
He just starting to just let it go and have fun. He back to having fun, and not being this character that everybody kind of built him up to coming into the season. And so he's back to just having fun, being disciplined, looking at the ball and understanding, he always studied the film, but now it ain't personal. He's doing what's best for the team, and he's giving us an opportunity to play high-level defense, and those guys look up to him, and he did a really good job. But Jaden Bose, for me, had a really good week of practice since we putting him in the starting lineup since Kayvon Henderson been hurt. He's really anchored that run game down. That's 2 weeks in a row we hadn't given up 100-yard rushing, but he's anchoring it down. Physical specimen, plays with anger and intentions, and a lot of malice. But he's that one that don't get a lot of credit. That does a really good job, in the run game for us up front.
Jeffrey McElton, Coach, had 7 tackles as well.
Jeff is that red shirt sophomore that going to be an upper-level big player. He's going to go in the likes of Brady Smith, Quintarius Cole, KJ. He's going to be at that status, once he kind of get his bearings up on them going into, the next season. And so we expecting a lot out of him. It was good to see him be physical, got us lined up, made some really good plays. And so we just excited about his development. He's one of those early enrollees who's been around here, seemed like forever, but only played 2 years. And so he had a really good physical game for us.
All right, let's get to the text line, 601-301-2611. Don't forget Braves basketball here on the Braves Sports Network. I'm here in New Orleans, home of Tulane at Fogelman Arena. And Braves basketball coming up in about 30 minutes with the pregame with head coach Landon Bussey as the Braves take on Tulane. Coach, this from the text line. We look good from beginning to end Saturday, Coach Thomas, in all areas. I think we'll finish strong and look good next year. Keep up the good work. I mean, it's a good bounce back, Coach. I mean, we hadn't been home in a month, and just a couple of tough losses. You're seeing some crazy games. I mean, 5 overtime, Southern and Bethune-Cookman. Alabama State had a shot to maybe control the East. They kind of blew that when they lost to Grambling and lost the lead there. Some really weird, crazy games over the weekend. Like, I even gave a wrong score in the overtime thing with Southern and Bethune-Cookman. I'm looking at these tickers, and next thing you know, it was 2 overtimes, and 3, and 4, and 5 overtimes, and Southern found a way to win by 2. Just some crazy games over the weekend, but teams bounce back, teams get off the mat, teams get knocked down, and they get back up, and we're able to get back up. So some crazy finishes here, Coach.
Yeah, man, in this league, I mean, it's probably one of the most parity I've seen in this league since I've been in it. Every Saturday, you look at, Prairie View play Valley go for 2 and get a holding call, and they could have easily won that game. And then you see them dominate, FAM. And so you sitting there saying, wow, but that's the parity of the league. When you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old brains, it ain't so much the X's and O's, it's the psychological part of getting them up and getting them ready to play, especially when those guys vested. When you got some guys that, could be their last couple games playing. And so you got to be able to find ways to motivate them, because that's what life's going to do. And that's our whole deal. We just apply it to life. As long as you got breath in your lungs and your feet at the flow, you got to change the opportunity to change the environment. And so that's what we want to do. And I thought they did a really good job at it.
Another question from the text line. What did you think about Hartsfield's performance?
Okay. When we tell him to run the ball, he got to run the ball. It's just the second time we put him in the game, and coach asks him to do something, he don't do it. Against Vanderbilt, we asked him to run the ball, and he throw a pick 6, and we asked him to run the ball Saturday, and he throw the ball out there and almost got it pick 6. He just got to let the game come to him. Still got all the faith in him. I just was, talking to him in the quarterback meeting. He just got to understand, he got to let the game come to him and just do what he asked to do. And he'll be an exceptional football player, like we know he got the ability to do and be.
And then on following up on the quarterback position, will we have the same quarterbacks next year? Obviously, Xavier Vaughn, this is his, as they say, his last ride. But just, obviously, once this thing is over, the quarterback position definitely will be talked about. How are you looking at that right now with 2 games left in the regular season, or are you looking at it at all and just wait till the end of the year and kind of deal with it at that time?
Nah, it'd be too late. Looking at it then, you got to access. We having recruiting meetings right now because like we want the mid-year signing period, so we got to get a head start on it. Right now, and just based on the guys that we got, we would love to have all those guys in here. It'll be their second time going through the system from a retention standpoint. Being under Coach Gale is a whole nother year. So I think this spring, with all 3 of the guys that's here coming back, I just think that'll just accelerate not only their learning curve, but you got pretty much the whole wide-out core that should be returning. God forbid anything happen. So it's a lot of guys that'll be returning, from that quarterback and skill position. And so this will be their second time going through the system. I just think the opportunity to be really, really successful and play at a high level goes that much up, that much higher, staying and, being in the room in the spring.
Coach, another question talking about uniforms, and we have some pretty good uniform combinations, but this question refers to getting names on the back of jerseys next year, and they're referring to our number 24, and of course have to work on getting the roster updated on the website. Kevin May, Jackson State transfer, got some carries there, and I remember meeting his parents at the first scrimmage in August, and him getting some carries. First of all, your thoughts on putting names on the back of jerseys. Are you a fan of that?
Yes, that's what I had an alumni reach out to me, when I first got the job, and I should have saved the number or the message, in regards to doing that, but never heard anything else, from the young lady. But also I'm up for it. I don't have a problem, with it. I think it'll be good. I think it's a way for them to, still have and represent their family, from that standpoint, but also be a part of this great institution. I think you can do both. So if anybody that's listening that can help me with that, I would love to, make that happen for the guys going into next year.
We'll talk about Kevin May, Coach. He got some carries on Saturday. Jackson State transferred. You kind of heard the story. He really wants to, even though he's got Jackson State in his blood a little bit, but he really wants to be a Brave. His folks were here during the during the scrimmages, and in August got a chance to meet them a little bit. Talk about Kevin May in that backfield.
This is Charles. You're gonna make me not want to talk about him so much. You keep saying that name and that school name in front of him. Because I almost didn't, allow him to be a part just because of that. But just work. He's a worker. Had some disciplinary issues early, but just kind of settled in. Being our cultural type guys on the top field, scout team working. He's made some big plays for us in the kicking game, and so he earned those carries because he did all the things the right way. Just a bundle of joy to coach and be around. And so just good to see him go out there and play and have opportunity to play. That was one of the things him and his parents, talked about, was just having an opportunity. And I pride myself on that. Guys are doing the right things on and off the field. I think we may be playing more walk-ons or letting guys play, than anybody in this league, just because we're going to give them an opportunity. They deserve to play. And I had every coach on the headset, when that thing got out of hand. I want to see everybody that got a uniform on get out there. I try to get everybody in the game, just so they can get an opportunity to get out there because they deserve it. They come to practice, they do what we ask to do, as long as they from a discipline standpoint, being mature in their actions, then they deserve to play. And so that's what we wanted to do. He was just one of those guys that got that opportunity also.
And, this is something that you see in college football. It's been a few years in the making now. You do see duplicate numbers, number 24 twice, number 2 twice, and it can be confusing for fans. Talk about how all that evolved and developed, because you do have to understand what those numbers are and body types. I mean, of course, that, but a lot of fans may not.
Yeah, and so these roster size has gotten so big that you got to double some of those numbers up, but also you can't have 2 of them on with the same number on the field at the same time. That's a penalty. So as coaches, we got to monitor and make sure we don't have 2 guys with the same number, out there. And so, you want to be able to do that, but also we don't have a sports information person, right now in house, from my understanding. And so I think from a media standpoint, that kind of hurts, guys, being able to get that information in, so people can actually know. I think if you don't have it, it's going to be tough for somebody in any other syndicate, to be able to have it. And that's just so unfair. They should get the credit, not only for them, but their families and the recognition, of it. And so we send the 2 deep out, to teams. I think I got to send one to ESPN for this game this weekend, and so, but it's guys like that may not be in that 2 deep, that may get caught up, in that media, deal, where if you don't know who they are, if there's 2 numbers that kind of get, screwed up. And so we just got to go in and try to clean that up the best way we can. But once we got somebody appointed that position, it'll really kind of iron things out itself.
Talking with Braves head football coach Cedric Thomas. Coach, some news of the Legacy Bowl. Some of our players will be heading to New Orleans once the season is over. You see names trickling out, Malachi Bailey and others. Talk a little bit about that.
That's huge, man. That's huge. Shout out to everybody that's been associated with getting that established. Shout out to everybody who laced them up, that's been a part of this great institution. That's how we got a chance to get to Tampa, Mr. Charles. Me and my wife and guys go down to support the game, and then I see Jimmy Giles and they talking, and that's how we really set up the whole deal for us to go to Tampa. And so, but just to see all of the scouts there, the whole combine and the festivities there for these young brothers, it's awesome. I talked to some of my former teammates who didn't get that opportunity, that didn't go to the combine, and just tell them how great it is. They gonna show up. And so it's a huge event. It's really good for these young brothers, not just from a football standpoint, but the networking aspect of seeing some of the greats who played in this league and made it. Just to hear some of those stories of Dr. Doom and Mr. Robert Brazil, back and forth talking about some of the legendary coaches and him playing Alcorn, and man, it was just awesome. And so can't wait to get down there to support them guys, but also can't wait to be in that suite with Doug Williams and some of the greats, to hear some of those old stories that I didn't get a chance to finish last year.
And Doug Williams is very much part of the Washington Commanders organization. They won the game last week. He was in the locker room when their coach was giving the speech, and Doug Williams was right there. So, he's very much connected with what's going on with that organization and Jaden Daniels and the National Football League. So that's good knowledge when you have someone that's right in the pipeline of it. Looking at the X line from our good show, the Golden Helm Review. Great job, Coach, of getting off the mat. And this is from the Golden Helm Review. We are with you. And look, we did get off the mat. I mean, there was some concerns, from the Southern game, the Alabama State game, and just when I saw the schedule 6 months ago, I identified Southern, Grambling, Alabama State as the three-headed monster that we're going to have to conquer if we were going to be in contention for the West. If we win all those three, we control the West. If we won two of the three, we would be right there. But unfortunately, we went 1-2 in those games, and now we're on the outside looking in. We're not eliminated, though. If Southern loses out and we win out, we win the West. But if Southern beats Pine Bluff on Saturday, they win the West, regardless of what we do on Saturday. But I thought that was a really tough stretch that we just went through before Texas Southern. Southern, Grambling back-to-back. The bye week, of course, in Alabama State and Mobile. I thought that was a tough stretch, and I thought we did what we could with that.
I'm proud of them. I wouldn't take this ride with no other coaching staff and no other set of kids. You talking about 2 or 3 plays here or there, Mr. Charles. Either way, and they made the plays, and we didn't. And so, but the fact that they was able to deal with that, with Coach Watson, and we ain't got the O-line coach for 2 games, and those guys, playing their heart out for him, and we missing a piece of the staff and going to Mobile and competing with that, tough Alabama State team. But to see them, to go through that and roll their sleeves up at home, and shout out to the people that came to support them. I'm telling you, that meant a lot, because they were still kind of dragging a little bit, that Thursday when they saw them RVs pulling up. It was just like a boost of, okay, yeah, they do believe in us. They do support us. And I thought that was huge. And I always talk about the fan base of the people that, the core guys and the core fan base that really love them. I thought that was a really good pick-me-up for them. And so just to see them get up and play the way they played, was really awesome. But we still got to go out in the morning and continue to compound these days and get better, because we still hadn't put those full 4 quarters together. And what a better week, like I told them, to put this show on the road. They say everything big in Texas. So let's give them a bigger show and bigger execution so we can clean up, what we need to and dot all these I's and cross all T's.
Well, let's talk about Prairie View, Coach. The last time we went to Prairie View, we pretty much ended the Panthers' opportunity for a possible 4-peat. We play them on a Friday night, and we get it done there. But this Panther team, they lost 3 games in the division in the first month. They were pretty much done. But they got off the mat and beat the defending champs. What can we say about Coach McDowell and this Panther team?
Just the wherewithal and the resolve that those guys showed, with that Stinger, FAMU team. Man, explosive, got some speed, can run, they physical up front. They coach well, we got our hands full. It's a really good football team. And it's just like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You look at them against Pine Bluff and you sit there and say, that's got to be somebody that's, dressed up like, Prairie View. And then you look at FAM and you sit there and say, man, look like some Minnesota Vikings players, playing with them. And so that's just kind of, who they are. When you see them in totality, but we got to just control us. We got to take care of football. We got to make sure we continue to score points. I think we're playing our best offensive football and defensively. But just as a team, we always talk about that complementary football. I think we're playing our best ball now, because you see defensive getting 3 and outs. We're turning the football over from a kicking game standpoint. We're leaving them pinned deep, offense getting the ball and scoring. So we got to continue to do that. Versus a really good football team. The record don't nearby indicate the type of athletes that they have. And so we got to get on the road and make sure we do a really good job of finishing this thing out strong.
What we haven't talked about, Coach Thomas? We haven't talked about special teams. I guess it's a good thing not to talk about special teams unless a touchdown is scored one way or the other, whether you give up one or we get one. We haven't talked about special teams. I guess thumbs up on that, right?
Yeah, Coach Welch is doing a really good job. I just think everybody's kind of finding a niche of what guys can do and putting guys in them positions, man. And so he's never wavered. We're critical. We critical of each other, and it starts with me in the building. Can't have thick skin around here. And so he took it, and we all helped him, and we all help him do it. And so he's done a marvelous job, of kicking. And covering kicks and doing all those things. So we continue to get better and continue to work. And the guys are playing, lights out on those phases because it's special to them. We talked about Kevin May. We talked about Darius Sipp, and we talked about old D-Train, Detrin. All those guys are core fixtures in that special team that's helping us be successful.
Well, Coach, I really appreciate it, man. We finally got this thing to work out the way we wanted to. Last week we had some technical nightmares. We were able to get it. We had to patch it together for 40 minutes, but to spend on Wednesday, we probably spent an hour and a half, me and Cedric Tillman, working through this video thing as well as the WPRL feed. I think we got it worked out pretty good and going forward. So I don't have to be in studio, even though I will be. I missed the studio. We'll be in studio next week, next Monday night at 6 o'clock. We'll be back on our regular scheduled time. In the next 17 minutes, we'll have Braves basketball. I want to thank the folks here at Tulane. I'm actually in one of their locker rooms. And Coach, you know, what is that that fueling station where they got all the snacks and stuff? That's what you all have. I wish I could turn this camera around. I'm sitting here looking at about 50 Rice Krispie treats. I'm looking at these Belvita sandwich cakes, skinny popcorn, Welch's gummies. I mean, if I could turn the camera around, I'd show it to you. But folks at Tulane got this stuff laid out here, so I appreciate them giving me the access. Want to find a quiet place to do this. So, Coach, we appreciate it, and I will be at practice on Wednesday as we get ready for Prairie View.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Mr. Charles.
That's the Cedric Thomas program. We appreciate everybody. We appreciate the text. We'll be talking to you next week. In the next 15 minutes, we'll have Braves basketball against Tulane, and then I'll be with the Lady Braves on Thursday as they play Alabama, the Lady Tide. Maybe I'll see Nick Saban over there. I don't know. Who knows? You just never know when you go over there. For our producer, Jabari Brooks, Cedric Tillman, head coach Cedric Thomas, Charles Edmond, enjoy your Monday. Braves basketball coming up. Stick around on the Braves Sports Network. We'll see you in a few minutes. So long, everybody.